What's good, everyone? It's ZeroInfinity again, and we're here for another initial card impression for cards that are coming in the October 14 expansion for Call of the Mountain. And they just revealed a new champ, Tahm Kench, and we're gonna check out the video here together. So let's get going. Ooh, so here we are. We got Tahm Kench here on the art. Pretty nice. Looks menacing, if I do say so myself. So let's get into the video.
Table for one, if you'd oblige. There's all.
Oh, wait. Okay, Tahm Kench. Round start. Create an acquired taste in hand. I wonder what that card is. So level up condition is I've captured 3+ units. When I level up, obliterate my captured enemies. And release my ally. So I'm guessing he has a card that can devour units, whether it be friend or enemy. So I wonder what that's going to be. That's probably going to be the acquired taste, right? So let's move on. 2-6. Wait. 2-6 though for the cast. Okay stat line, I guess. So we're taking a break from like the usual 3-5 and putting it on toughness instead of on the power. I can see that happening depending on what the hell this acquired taste card is.
Room for supper. Let us peruse.
Okay, acquired taste. Tahm Kench swallows an enemy unit. It strikes him, then he captures it. Huh. Okay. So it's like reverse concerted strike. But then after the enemy unit strikes you, you get to detain it. Okay. Interesting.
This establishment's fair.
Of course. Oh my god. Of course it's on Braum, dude. Shit, that's massive bait, man. That's massive bait. So it doesn't deal damage to Tahm Kench, and you can devour it for free. Well, at the cost of 2 mana anyway. Whoops. Let's get back.
Tender, ain't ya?
Hunting Fleet.
Always
Uh-huh.
provides. Bargain accepted.
Bayou Brunch. Slow. 3 to cast. An ally captures another ally and gains the captured ally stats. Okay. I see this being playable. Not only in like Tahm Kench decks, but maybe in other decks as well. Let's continue. So just like Braum being used for the acquired taste target, we use Bayou Brunch on like something like Hunting Fleet, which is huge, right? And it feels like massive bait to me. Like you get a +6/+6 on your one of your creatures using Bayou Brunch. That's wild, bro. And we also have like Bubble Bear here, like saying that, oh, you can use Bayou Brunch and your Bubble Bear and let it devour something, or like let it capture something to get its stats. Crazy bait here, guys. Crazy. Yeah, detain.
Excuse my impertinence. Come along. There's room for everyone.
Okay, so that's the level up animation. Nothing too fancy there. Tahm Kench, he goes up all the way to 3-7. Round start, he still creates that reverse concerted strike in hand. And then attack, obliterate my captured enemies and release my ally. So basically, what happens on his level up is when he does attack, it kind of repeats the level up thing that happens wherein you obliterate your enemies and then throw up your allies. Okay. Ooh. Ooh, massive value, dude.
Let us reconnoiter.
Something that to note here, that's when he spit out the Hunting Fleet, it summoned another narwhal. So I guess it's just like detain, right? So the summon stuff still happens. But the stats remain from Bayou Brunch. Okay. Pretty good. I think Bayou Brunch is like looking like a solid card right now.
I'll scrutinize something scrumptious. Now we gormandize.
Yeah. Nice. Can't wait. Can't wait. All right. So let's go ahead and head on to Twitter and check out the other cards. So here we go. Tahm Kench. So 2/6 for the cast instead of the usual 3 to 5 that we get. And then Bayou Brunch is also Tahm Kench's signature spell. Interesting. And then so basically repeatable level up effect on his attack when he already captured 3 allies or enemies. Yeah. Initial impressions 2/6. Not an amazing stat line for the cast, but I think it helps with his acquired taste mechanic. It's slow. Both of these are slow actually, so that is a major concern for me going into like action economy type of stuff, right, in high level Runeterra. So you're basically spending your turn to use one of these actions, and then your opponent gets to go again. So, and then you also open up yourself to being counterplayed by other slow spells like maybe Spellburst or something like that, which is Sunburst. You also open up yourself to being counterplayed by slow effects like Sunburst. But I mean, like, why would you Sunburst Tahm Kench, right? Like, that would be crazy. You wouldn't get your units back. Don't do that, all right? I'm just stating an example here. Yeah, but then you get like other slow effects that can counter you, like Thermogenic Beam maybe comes to mind, and other stuff. So 4 mana do nothing, not too impressive on its own, but if you can somehow support him with like something that you can heal, because of course on acquired taste you are just going to put some damage on Tahm Kench, and that's gonna be quite the deck building cost here, I think. Maybe you don't have to build around Tahm Kench. Maybe it can be just like a nice removal option, especially that it's in Bilgewater, right? So I think that's a great point to make, great case to make about Tahm Kench, is he is like some sort of hard removal option again for Bilgewater, like the other card that was spoiled, the Sunk Cost or something like that. So we don't have any hard removal options in Bilgewater, and now that we have Tahm Kench here, I think it's a nice balance between the two. You sink a lot of mana though, and a lot of your action economy to be able to try and pick off creatures off the board. And yeah, and then there's definitely a deck building cost here, because the more powerful the unit you're trying to devour, of course, the more damage Tahm Kench is getting also from acquired taste. So some synergies that come to mind is like healing from maybe Freljord, Targon. Speaking about Freljord, maybe there's some nice synergy here between Frostbite and acquired taste. That would be pretty nutty. Frostbite? Wow. If we can make that work, right? Sounds nice. Bilgewater, Freljord, Frostbite, and then you use acquired taste. That's insane. That's an insane combo removal option right there. So yeah, and then Bayou's Branch feels like it's a playable card. Like we saw a while ago in the video, Bubble Bear just hanging out there. So maybe they're like Riot is trying to plant in our heads that you can use Bayou Branch on Bubble Bear, right? So it's gonna show up maybe in other decks that doesn't specifically support Tahm Kench. But what I like about it being his signature card is that it really complements him, right? Because it allows you to get to your level up faster, plus it buffs up his toughness as well, depending on what you devoured, and that allows him to devour more enemies. And then after that, when he spits them back out, he still whatever unit that you use Bayou Brunch on still retains the stats. So that's quite an amazing signature card, especially in realms of Tahm Kench solo. So the thing about here that I'm really concerned with is like if you're using Tahm Kench, and of course we also have to think about counterplay options, right? If you sink a lot of mana using acquired taste, because of course it's not free, right? You use 2 mana every time you want to devour something, and if your opponent somehow has something to deal with your Tahm Kench, like a Vengeance, a Thermogenic Beam, or like your Tahm Kench gets too low, being Acquired Taste being a slow spell, and they can respond with a fast spell like Mystic Shot or something, get excited. I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that your Tahm Kench can get picked off by a damage-based removal because of how Acquired Taste works, and that just puts you in such negative tempo because especially if you've been devouring your enemy units, what happens is they get all those units back, much like Detain, and you were down a lot of action economy, plus you were down a lot of mana because of how much you sank into acquired taste. So that's one, like, something that I'm not really stoked about if I'm going to be playing Tahm Kench. But like I said, there might be some nice options here, using Tahm Kench, using Frostbite maybe, or some like buff and healing from other regions, of course. So yeah, that's about Tahm Kench. Then let's get to Wise Fry. 6 to cast, 3/8, Overwhelm, Vulnerable. Oh man, that's... I hate this. I don't like things like this. Like Narwhal, Wise Fry, 6 to cast, man, 3/8. The floor is so low though. Like, what if you have nothing on board? You get a 3/8 Vulnerable? Well, I mean, the toughness is nothing to scoff about, right? Like 8 toughness, but being a drop on 6, like usually games tend to end like 8, around 8, around 9. This is supposed to be a finisher, and it's only going to be a finisher if you have a wide board. But then again, like, you deal 1 damage to them, and Bilgewater in itself is not known for having super high toughness units, which might be a challenge going into this. So I'm not sold on this card just yet, but we'll see how it pans out in the future. But looking like a pretty mediocre card that might not be played at all. Yeah, Wise Fry, Overwhelm, Vulnerable, man. Kinda bad. Kinda bad, not gonna lie. Next is Shakedown. Wanna cast Burst. Deal 2 to an ally to grant 2 enemies vulnerable. Okay. I can see that being useful. So you deal 2 damage to an ally, right? Grant 2 enemies vulnerable. So I'm assuming you target. That is like Ezreal stacks, maybe? I don't know if like an Ezreal deck would like have units to deal with the vulnerable units though. Like, it's also grant, so that's a big thing. It's not give, so it's gonna be permanent. So Bilgewater has a lot of these cards, like Hired Gun, that also like grant vulnerable. I'm thinking about applications for this card. I mean, there's definitely like this crazy open attack option that you can use with Shakedowns, especially since it's burst. You don't pass your priority. You deal 2 to something, and then you pick off two units from your opponent's side of the board, which is like super enticing, maybe from a combat trick's point of view. And then there's also there was a version of Undying that ran Bilgewater instead of Demacia, and that might slot in there super well. Like, you can kill something like a Curse Keeper maybe, or the Undying itself, or any other card that you can think of that is in the Undying archetype, and then you can grant 2 enemies vulnerable. You can possibly trade with them, triggering more of your last breath effects. And maybe that's where like something like Shakedown really shines. I don't really see it being played or slotting cleanly into a lot of the existing meta decks right now. but definitely something that will merit a lot of experimentation. Maybe it goes into more mid-range decks. Maybe, yeah, it goes to the Undying build Bilgewater that I was talking about. Yep, solid card. I think that's a solid card. Far Cry from what Wise Fry is. So yeah, Tahm Kench, not a super solid solo unit. Might need some kind of a deck building cost to effectively make it work. But then like, there's one thing about Tahm Kench before we go. Like I think like there will be times that you put down Tahm Kench and then the threat alone of acquired taste on one of your opponent's units is enough to keep them at bay sometimes. Like there is that, right? You don't have to use the acquired taste, but if your opponent doesn't have the answer, he might be what do you call, he might be inclined not to put down one of his important creatures because it's gonna get picked up by acquired taste. So there is that like type of fear factor going into Tahm Kench being on the board, which is I think a fundamental part of what could make Tahm Kench viable in a sense in the meta. But yeah, I'm happy to see Tahm Kench in Runeterra, and then I'm gonna try to tinker around with a couple of decks with him, and hopefully something comes out nice with, since he looks more of like a nice control option for Bilgewater and then another region combination. So yeah, solid card, Tahm Kench. Not maybe not on its own, but with enough deck building prowess, we can make it work. Shakedown might see some experimental play, especially in like Undying archetypes, and then Wise Fry, not too good. Bayou's Brunch is looking like a solid card, not just for Tahm Kench archetype. So, yep. Guys, yeah, I'll see you next time for another initial card impressions about new cards. See ya.